Quitting sexual videos can truly help restore your natural sexual energy. You might not realize it, but when you're constantly exposed to explicit content, your brain and body go into overdrive. This overstimulation triggers an unnatural flood of dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical. At first, it might feel exciting, but over time, it can dull your natural response to real intimacy and lead to serious problems like weak erections, lower stamina, and a drop in sexual desire. Your body starts getting used to this artificial high, and it becomes harder to feel aroused by normal, healthy relationships. You may notice you're not as interested in real connection anymore, and your energy feels drained. This is because your body is losing essential nutrients and hormones that are linked to sexual vitality, including testosterone and vital minerals found in semen. Frequent stimulation and release caused by watching these videos can weaken your system, leaving you feeling tired, foggy, or even anxious. But the good news is, once you quit, your body begins to recover. You'll feel your sexual energy return. Erections can become stronger, your stamina improves. You may even start waking up with natural signs of arousal, like morning wood, a good sign of a healthy reproductive system. And it's not just physical. Emotionally, you'll start to reconnect with yourself. You'll become more present, more confident, and more interested in real-life relationships. This helps build deeper, healthier intimacy with a partner. So if you're thinking about quitting, know that you're not losing something. You're taking your strength back. You're giving your body and mind the chance to heal, reset, and thrive the way nature intended. Sexual videos flood the brain with dopamine in an unnatural way. Dopamine is the brain chemical responsible for motivation, pleasure, and reward. It's what makes you feel good when you achieve something, fall in love, or enjoy a delicious meal. But when you constantly watch explicit content, your brain gets hit with a massive and repeated surge of dopamine, far more than it would in a normal, healthy situation. At first, it feels exciting and intense, but over time, this constant flood of dopamine actually starts to wear out your brain's receptors. You begin to need more and more stimulation just to feel the same pleasure. This is called desensitization. As a result, everyday things that used to bring joy, like hanging out with friends, pursuing your goals, or even being with a real partner, start to feel boring or uninteresting. Even worse, your concentration and memory can take a hit. You might notice it's harder to focus on tasks, finish what you start, or even remember simple things. That's because your brain is in a constant loop of chasing artificial highs instead of staying grounded in reality. But the moment you decide to stop, healing begins. When you quit watching sexual videos, your brain slowly starts to rebalance itself. Dopamine receptors begin to recover. You become more sensitive to real joy, real rewards, and real love. You'll start to notice sharper focus, stronger willpower, and more mental clarity. Things that used to feel difficult, like studying, working, or even socializing, become easier and more enjoyable. Quitting is not just about saying no. It's about freeing your brain and taking back control of your life, your mind, and your full potential. Frequent arousal and release, especially when it's triggered by watching sexual videos, can have a real impact on your body's energy and health. Most people don't realize this, but every time you release semen, your body is expending valuable nutrients and minerals. Semen isn't just fluid, it's rich in zinc, magnesium, calcium, protein, and other elements that support brain function, immunity, and overall vitality. When this release becomes too frequent, especially through unnatural stimulation like pornography, your body doesn't have enough time to rebuild what's lost. Over time, you might start to feel more tired, foggy, unmotivated, and even emotionally flat. You may also notice a decline in physical strength or sexual confidence. This is often because the body's reserves are being drained faster than they can be restored. But here's the good news. When you make the decision to stop, your body starts to bounce back. Testosterone, the key hormone responsible for male energy, muscle tone, and sex drive, starts to rise again. Your semen quality improves, and the nutrients that were being constantly lost begin to build up again. As a result, you'll start to feel more alive. You'll have more physical energy, better focus, stronger sexual desire, and a greater sense of confidence. Many men report feeling more masculine and grounded after quitting sexual videos simply because they're no longer draining their life force. Think of it like charging a battery. If you're constantly running it down without giving it time to recharge, it won't work well. But when you stop, that energy comes back. You feel whole again, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Quitting isn't about denial. It's about reclaiming your power, your strength, and your natural masculinity. Many people don't talk about it, but there's a quiet emotional weight that often comes after watching sexual videos, especially when it becomes a habit. After the momentary pleasure fades, it's common to feel guilt, shame, or anxiety. You might ask yourself, why did I do that again? Or feel like you've let yourself down. This emotional cycle, brief highs followed by emotional lows, can really take a toll on your mental health over time. What starts as something that seems harmless or even exciting can slowly turn into a source of stress. You may start to feel disconnected from yourself, less motivated, or emotionally numb. For some people, this leads to feelings of sadness or even symptoms of depression. You feel like you're stuck in a loop. You watch to feel better, but afterward, you feel worse. That emotional crash becomes heavier with each cycle. And before you know it, your mood, confidence, and motivation start to slip. The good news is, you don't have to stay stuck there. When you make the decision to quit, you begin to break this cycle. You're no longer flooding your brain with artificial highs and setting yourself up for emotional lows. Instead, your emotions begin to stabilize. You start to feel more grounded, more connected to your real-life experiences, and more in control of your mood. Over time, as your brain chemistry balances out, your natural happiness returns. You begin to feel joy from real things, spending time with people, pursuing goals, enjoying nature, or simply being present. Your anxiety begins to fade, your confidence starts to grow, and your overall mental well-being improves. Quitting isn't just about avoiding guilt, it's about building peace of mind. It's about creating space for real happiness, self-respect, and emotional clarity. You begin to see yourself differently, not as someone hiding behind a screen, but as someone strong enough to face life, feel real emotions, and live fully. So if you've been feeling that emotional drain, know this: healing starts the moment you decide to take your power back, and from there, life only gets better. When you quit sexual videos, something powerful starts to shift, not just in your body, but in your mind and heart. Over time, your brain stops chasing artificial stimulation and begins to seek out something deeper, something more real. That's when you start to notice a desire for genuine emotional and physical connection. You begin to crave actual closeness with real people, not pixels on a screen. This is one of the most beautiful parts of the healing process. When you remove the constant fantasy and overstimulation, it clears mental space for emotional presence. You become more tuned in, not just to your own feelings, but to the people around you. You start to listen better, communicate more clearly, and connect on a deeper level. If you're in a relationship, you may find that intimacy with your partner becomes more meaningful and fulfilling. You're no longer comparing your partner to unrealistic images or scenarios, so you can appreciate them for who they really are. Physical intimacy becomes a shared experience, built on love, trust, and vulnerability, not just a performance or quick release. You might even discover a renewed sense of attraction and excitement in your relationship that had been dulled by constant screen time. And if you're single, Quitting sexual videos can help you build a stronger foundation for future relationships. You're more present, more confident, and more emotionally available. Instead of being stuck in fantasy, you're ready for something real. You're more likely to seek a partner who aligns with your values and desires, not just someone to satisfy a temporary craving. You also start to understand the emotional side of connection better. Real intimacy takes patience, empathy, and effort. It's not always instant or perfect, but it's real. And real love, real touch, and real emotional support are far more satisfying and healing than anything a screen can offer. Plus, there's a deeper sense of self-respect that comes when you quit. You're no longer hiding a habit or feeling disconnected from your values. You show up more honestly, and that authenticity attracts better, healthier relationships, romantic or otherwise. Ultimately, quitting sexual videos is not just about breaking a habit. It's about opening the door to something much more rewarding. It's about choosing connection over isolation, reality over fantasy, and love over lust. You're giving yourself the opportunity to grow, not just sexually, but emotionally, mentally, and relationally. And from that place, true intimacy becomes not only possible but deeply fulfilling. Resisting the urge to watch sexual videos might not seem like a big deal at first, but it actually builds something incredibly valuable: mental strength. Every time you choose not to give in to that habit, you're strengthening your self-control. And self-control is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. At first, it can be tough. Your mind might make excuses or try to justify just one more time. But when you hold your ground, even for just one day, you feel a little stronger. You start to notice that you're not as reactive. You're more in control. That small victory creates a ripple effect, and over time it leads to something much bigger: self-respect. When you do things that align with your values and long-term goals, you start to feel proud of yourself. That pride builds confidence. You no longer feel like you're hiding behind a habit or being controlled by it. Instead, you're the one steering the ship, and that sense of control often spills into other areas of life. People who quit watching sexual content often say they feel more motivated to get in shape, focus on their work, or pursue personal goals they had been neglecting. Why? Because the energy that was once being wasted on a screen is now being redirected toward real growth. You begin to realize what you're capable of. You're more productive, more focused, and more disciplined. You start trusting yourself again, knowing that if you can overcome this, you can overcome anything. In short, quitting builds more than willpower. It builds character. And from that foundation, every other part of your life can start to improve.